Scott, how do you negotiate a contract without an agent? So let's say we've gotten to a point where we're ready to sign, there's been many drafts, the screenwriters met with numerous people.
And my answers here, they're not to knock agents. Agents are great people and they're vital in this business, but for new writers starting out, I have seen too many talented writers sign a deal with an agent, actors too, and they get stuck in a scenario where they can't get out of. And the belief is that you need an agent to negotiate your contracts for you or open doors for you, and it's really not true. How you negotiate your own contract, it seems scary because contracts are very scary documents, they're legal, and there's all these terms and definitions that are overly worded. In truth, if you can read a menu at a restaurant, you can read a contract. And if you can ask the waiter for mayo on the side instead of on the burger, you can negotiate a deal point. Like it's not any different. And a contract is nothing more than common ground. It's a piece of paper that explains how you and a production company or producer are going to work together. What are the terms and all of that. So you basically just read it, you look for the elements that make sense to you and that you agree with. You highlight or red flag anything that seems awkward or intrusive or you don't understand, and you throw it back at them and you say, answer these questions and we'll continue the conversation. If you're unsure of it, you can always hire a lawyer. And yes, you'll have to pay for a lawyer, but hiring a lawyer on a one-time contract who's only working for your better interest, whereas an agent is working for dozens of writers' better interests, more importantly, they're working for their own interest, you're going to get all the attention you need, you're going to see all the details you need to see in there, and you will have a valid source kind of vetting out all those major questions on your behalf. When to sign the deal there's no real formula to it. It's basically just making sure that you're clear on all the requirements, you're comfortable with the money, or whatever transaction you're going to have in there. You understand the flow, the workflow, what action item you have to do will trigger what action item on the other side, and you understand when the term will conclude and how to exit it or anything along those lines.
Right. So let's say we're at this hypothetical meeting and I'm looking over this contract and I'm like, you know what, let me see, perpetuity, what's that mean? Let me look that up. You know what, actually, can I take this with me and have an attorney look at it? Because there's a couple things. The scenario, let's say you would say yes, and you would give the person, a week to find someone and have them review it, make an appointment, and then come back to you and have any changes?
Oh yeah, and in truth, I've never been in a scenario where I've seen a contract handed to somebody and they're expected to review it and sign it on the spot.
Okay.
So you never have to worry about that.
Oh.
Usually, let's take a hypothetical pitch meeting. You know, you come in, you're the writer, you show a good amount of confidence, you treat it like the first day as we talked about. It's casual. Yeah. It's casual, it's fun, you present your ideas, they seem to be in alignment with everyone else. You end the conversation in a fun way, which is like, well, we seem to be in alignment with a lot of our ideas, as I just said, and I really look forward to being in touch with everybody. You send a polite follow-up, they express some interest, etc. You bounce emails back and forth, and then when they're ready to say, we'd like to hire your services on this movie, or we have a movie idea that seems in alignment with some of the projects you've written, we'd like to see what kind of a treatment you could write for us. That'd be your first option, and that would be kind of they would send an agreement to you, a Word doc, you get the Word document, and you review it, and you'll notice that when you type anything in it or if you adjust any words, it'll suddenly turn red on the screen, and it's called redlining it. And you get to put all your notes in there, you can add comments, you can add questions, or if you have a lawyer, you can forward that Word document to them, they'll do the same thing for you, and they'll probably do a crazy job with it, called making it bleed, so to speak, and you just email it back to the party, and you can bounce the contract back and forth several times. And you're just highlighting the points that you have questions about, or your lawyer does, or your manager, and you wait for their response, and they'll give on some things and they won't on others, and you just kind of see what you're comfortable with.
Right, so then this theoretical email exchange, probably with numerous people CC'd on it, would be like, we agreed to terms 1 through 5, but 7, we want to change it to this, and then please see attached, kind of a thing. Okay, interesting. So it's not where, hey, why don't you come on in? Great, here's a pen, sign this. Oh, sorry, you don't agree with this? Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You would have time to review it. You could review it on your own terms, wherever you are, show other people. It's not this high pressure thing where it's like buying a car.
It is not a high pressure
okay.
situation, and you should never feel that you are being pressured into signing something, ever. So it's if you feel uncomfortable with the scenario and they're not comfortable with you, they're not comfortable emailing you a contract, or they're not comfortable letting you show it to an attorney, they're probably not a company worth doing business with. Any legitimate company, any legitimate entity is going to totally understand that flow. And they're going to be understanding that you need to have it reviewed, and it takes time. It's not like a back and forth thing that happens in 2 minutes. They got a lot of stuff on their plate, you do too. So, take it, I would say 3 days is a good turnaround, that you receive it, maybe send a thanks email just to let them know you received it, and then take 2 or 3 days to really read through it and make sure you understand all the terms, and highlight the questions that you have, and just send it back.
So in terms of the studio being flexible, that's a good sign for the screenwriter as well, to see that it's not high pressure in terms of, but have you ever seen it where it draws out and
Yes.
then finally it's like, look, you need to make a decision here?
I normally see it draw out the most when an agent's involved. Agents tend to, I call them wedgers. Lawyers can be wedgers, agents can be wedgers. Again, these are very smart, savvy people who are very valuable later stages in your career. But when you're starting out, your first couple of deals, you really don't need to deal with them intently. I've seen really talented writers have an option on the table, have a deal on the table. I've seen the company want to work with them, and I've seen the writer be very accommodating to it. And then I've seen agents interfering, calling conference calls, demanding crazy demands, and increasing the money like, it's kind of stupid numbers where they're not even really gaining all that much for the amount of time they're really putting in there. It's more just like the principle of just pushing to get the most exorbitant deal possible. And what happens is those companies will just kind of say, you know what, we're done. We're not going to deal with you anymore. And I talk about this in the book, actually, as I overheard a speakerphone conversation exactly like this, where the creative executive on a film said, you know what, I really like the script, I really like the writer, I'm not dealing with you anymore, and I'm canceling this deal. And then, of course, the writer's just like, I'm sorry, the agent was just like, wait, let's come up with a deal. And they just canceled the call. And that writer got screwed because the agent came in and kind of fouled up the deal. Since an agreement is about common ground, if you have the writer and you have the company, they both have a reason to be working together, they can find common ground. And look, it's always going to be, you're always going to have to fight a couple of points here and there, but it's always going to be common ground.